Dr. Elena Vasquez pressed her face against the cold glass of the observation deck. The alien ship hung in space like a massive crystal cathedral. For 3 days, it had been sitting there in Earth's orbit, silent and waiting. The whole world held its breath. Elena was the best language expert on the planet. She spoke 12 human languages and had spent her whole career studying how different species might communicate. Now she stood in the most important room on Earth, surrounded by world leaders, generals, and scientists. Everyone was looking at her. The crystal ship began to glow. Elena's computers started beeping wildly. The aliens were finally ready to talk. The voice that came through the speakers was smooth and cold. It spoke perfect English, which should have been impossible. Elena realized they must have been listening to Earth's communications for a long time. "Primitive children of Terra," the voice said. Elena winced at the word primitive. "We are the Zephyrians. We have watched your small world for many months. We have seen your wars. We have seen your pollution. We have seen how you struggle with simple concepts like peace and cooperation." Elena translated quietly for the Russian president, who did not speak English well. She could see anger growing in his eyes. The voice continued. "Your species is very young. Like human children, you fight over toys and make messes. But the Galactic Concordat has rules about helping younger species. We must give you a chance to grow up." A beam of light shot down from the crystal ship. It landed in the center of the room, and suddenly a figure appeared. Elena had to step back. The alien was tall, maybe 8 feet, with pale skin that seemed to glow from inside. It had 4 arms and large, dark eyes that looked down at the humans, like they were insects. "I am Ambassador Kethvar," the alien said. Its voice was like music, but not the kind that made you happy. It was the kind that made you feel small. "I bring greetings from the advanced civilizations of this galaxy." President Chen of the United Nations stepped forward. He was a small man, but he had led China through 3 wars and never backed down from anyone. Still, Elena could see his hands shake slightly. "Welcome to Earth," President Chen said. "We are honored by your visit." Kethvar made a sound that might have been laughter. "Honor? Little human, you do not understand. This is not a social visit. This is an intervention." The alien reached into what looked like empty air and pulled out a small device. It was the size of a marble and pulsed with soft blue light. Elena's scientific mind was fascinated despite her growing anger. "This is a neural enhancement module," Kethvar explained, holding it up like a teacher showing a toy to kindergarten students. "It will improve your brain function by approximately 15%. This should give you basic mathematics skills and simple reasoning abilities." Elena felt her face burn with embarrassment. Around the room, she could see the same feeling on every face. These were some of the smartest humans alive. Professor Williams had solved 3 mathematical theorems that computers could not handle. Dr. Yamamoto had invented fusion power. General Harrison had never lost a military campaign. "Your species shows some promise," Kethvar continued, apparently unaware of the growing tension in the room. "With proper guidance and this small enhancement, you might eventually become useful workers in our galactic civilization. Perhaps in a few thousand years you could manage simple tasks like mining asteroids or cleaning space stations." President Chen's jaw tightened. "And if we refuse?" Kethavar's laugh was like breaking glass. "Refuse? Sweet child, this is not a negotiation. Look at your world. Your oceans are full of plastic. Your air is poisoned. You spend more money on weapons than on feeding your hungry. Without our help, your species will destroy itself within a century." Elena watched General Harrison carefully. The old soldier had not said a word, but his hand kept moving to his pocket where she knew he kept his secure communication device. "We are generous," Kethavar said. "Most species must prove themselves worthy of our attention. But the Concordat has decided to offer you this gift freely. You should be grateful. How long do we have to decide? President Chen asked. 7 of your rotations. 7 days. Kethvar waved one of his 4 hands dismissively. Though I cannot imagine why you would need time to consider such generosity. The alien shimmered and disappeared, leaving only empty air and the smell of ozone. The crystal ship went dark again. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Elena could hear her own heartbeat. In the silence. Well, said President Chen finally, that was humiliating. Deliberately so, Elena replied. She had studied psychology as well as languages. Everything about that interaction was designed to make us feel inferior. The height, the 4 arms, the condescending tone, even the way he appeared and disappeared without warning. Can we trust the translation? Asked President Okafor of the African Union. Elena nodded. Their universal translator is incredibly advanced, but I caught some interesting details. They have been monitoring our communications for at least a year, maybe longer. They know our languages, our culture, our military capabilities. Or they think they do, General Harrison said quietly. It was the first time he had spoken since the alien appeared. Elena looked at him sharply. There was something in his voice, something that sounded almost like satisfaction. General? President Chen asked. Harrison stood up slowly. He was an old man, but he moved like a soldier. With your permission, Mr. President, I need to make some calls. What kind of calls? The kind that might change how we respond to our generous new friends. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. She had known Harrison for 5 years, ever since the first deep space telescopes had detected artificial structures around distant stars. He was not the kind of man who made idle threats. You have something in mind, General? She asked. Harrison smiled, and Elena was suddenly very glad he was on humanity's side. Dr. Vasquez, how would you feel about sending the Zephyrians a gift of our own? Before Elena could answer, her computer beeped again. Another message was coming through from the crystal ship. Primitive humans. Kethvar's voice filled the room again. Perhaps I was not clear. The neural enhancement is not optional. Your species is too dangerous to be left alone with your current limitations. Accept our gift, or we will be forced to implement more direct methods of ensuring galactic security. The transmission ended with a sound like static. Elena looked around. The room at the faces of Earth's leaders. She saw anger, humiliation, and fear. But she also saw something else, something that made her proud to be human. She saw defiance. General Harrison, President Chen said slowly, make your calls. As the meeting broke up, Elena stayed behind to study the recordings of their alien visitor. She played Kethvar's words over and over, analyzing every detail. The Zephyrians thought they understood humanity, but Elena was beginning to suspect they had made a very serious mistake. They had assumed that a species without faster-than-light travel must be primitive in every way. They had looked at Earth's problems and seen only failure, not the incredible diversity and determination that created those problems in the first place. Most importantly, they had threatened Earth while standing in a room full of humans who had spent their entire careers preparing for exactly this moment. Elena smiled as she packed up her equipment. The Zephyrians wanted to give humanity a gift that would make them better servants. She had a feeling they were about to discover what kind of gift humanity gave in return. 3 miles beneath the Colorado mountains, Dr. Raj Patel had not slept in 60 hours. His eyes were red and his hands shook from too much coffee, but he could not stop working. None of them could. The underground facility had no official name. Most of the world did not know it existed. Even the presidents and prime ministers upstairs had only learned about it 3 days ago, when General Harrison finally revealed what the military had been building for the past 15 years. Run the calculations again, Raj said to his team. Around him, the world's greatest physicists and engineers worked at computers that cost more than small countries. I need to be absolutely certain. Dr. Sarah Mitchell looked up from her quantum field generator. She was the youngest person in the room at 28, but she had already revolutionized 3 different fields of science. Raj, we have run the numbers 47 times. It will work. Raj rubbed his tired eyes. If we are wrong, we could start a war with an entire galactic civilization. They already started the war, said Dr. Kim Woo from her station across the room. They just expected us to surrender without fighting. The door to the laboratory opened with a soft hiss. General. Harrison walked in, followed by Dr. Elena Vasquez and someone Raj did not recognize. The stranger was a thin man with pale skin and nervous eyes. Team, Harrison said, I want you to meet Dr. James Morrison. Until yesterday, he was working on a very different project. Dr. Morrison stepped forward awkwardly. I study alien technology, he said quietly. For the past year, we have been analyzing signals from the Zephyrian ship. Sarah frowned. Signals? What kind of signals? All kinds. Their communication system uses quantum entanglement on a massive scale. Every message they send creates a permanent connection with their receivers. Morrison pulled out a tablet and showed them a complex diagram. We have been mapping their entire network. Elena leaned forward. You mean every time they talk to us, we can trace the signal back to them? Better than that, Morrison said with a small smile. We can access their network. The room went completely silent. Raj felt his mouth fall open. That is impossible, he whispered. We thought so too, Harrison said, until 3 months ago, when Dr. Morrison's team successfully intercepted their first private communication. Morrison activated his tablet. Suddenly, the air above it filled with a holographic display showing star maps, ship positions, and text in alien languages. This is from yesterday, Morrison explained. Internal Zephyrian military communications. They are not just threatening Earth. They have 47 other species under their control, and they rule them all the same way. Threats, intimidation, and these neural enhancement devices that are actually control implants. Sarah stood up. So quickly her chair fell over. Control implants? Elena nodded grimly. We ran detailed scans on the device Kethvar showed us. It does not enhance brain function. It suppresses it. Specifically, it reduces creativity, independent thinking, and emotional responses by about 60%. They turn entire species into willing slaves, Harrison added, and they were planning to do the same to us. Raj felt sick. How many species? Hundreds, Morrison said quietly. The Zephyrian Concordat controls most of this part of the galaxy. They find species that are just developing space travel, offer to help them, and then turn them into workers. But we can stop them, Sarah said. It was not a question. Harrison smiled. Dr. Mitchell, show them what you have been building. Sarah walked over to a massive machine that took up half the laboratory. It looked like a cross between a telescope and a radio tower, covered in strange crystals and cables. Quantum field. Manipulation array, she said proudly. We started building it 5 years ago when the deep space telescopes first detected artificial structures around other stars. We knew someone was out there, and we wanted to be ready. Ready for what? Elena asked. To talk back, Sarah replied. The Zephyrians use quantum entanglement for communication because they think it is impossible to trace or intercept. They are wrong. She activated the machine. The crystals began to glow with the same soft blue light as the alien device. Every quantum communication creates a two-way connection, Sarah explained. If you know how to reverse the polarity and amplify the signal, you can send messages back through the same channel. Not just to the sender, but to everyone connected to their network. Raj began to understand. You want to hack their entire communication system. More than that, Morrison said. We want to broadcast the truth to every species in their empire. Elena pulled out her own tablet. I have been working on the message. But first, we need to show them that humanity is not as primitive as they think. She showed them her notes. Page after page of technical specifications, scientific breakthroughs, and military capabilities that officially did not exist. Faster than light. Communication without their infrastructure, Elena read from her list. Quantum computers that make their best systems look like pocket calculators. Fusion power, antimatter weapons, self-replicating manufacturing systems, and artificial intelligence networks. We have all of this? Raj asked. We have had most of it for years, Harrison replied. We just kept it hidden. The last thing we wanted was to attract attention from hostile aliens before we were ready to defend ourselves. Sarah laughed. So while they were watching us struggle with chemical rockets and nuclear power, we were building weapons that could crack planets. And now they have given us the perfect opportunity to reveal everything, Elena added. They opened a communication channel with us. According to their own network protocols, we have the right to respond. Morrison activated his computer. I have been monitoring their internal communications since the first contact. They are planning to attack Earth if we refuse their gift. 40 ships arriving in 5 days. Then we had better get to work, Harrison said. For the next 3 days, the team worked without stopping. Sarah fine-tuned her quantum communication array, while Morrison mapped every connection in the Zephyrian network. Elena crafted the message that would change the galaxy, choosing every word carefully. Raj worked on the most important part of all. If they were going to prove that humanity was more advanced than the Zephyrians believed, they needed to demonstrate technology that the aliens could not understand or copy. The Neural Enhancement Module, Raj said on the 3rd day. We can do better. He held up a device that looked similar to the Zephyrian implant, but smaller and more elegant. Instead of suppressing brain function, this actually enhances it. Safely. No side effects, no control mechanisms, just pure cognitive improvement. Elena stared at the device. How much improvement? About 300%, Raj said casually. We finished the first working prototype 6 months ago. We have been testing it on volunteers from the military. Harrison nodded. Dr. Vasquez, meet Captain Lisa Park. She was our first test subject. A woman stepped out from behind a computer terminal. She was young, maybe 30, with bright eyes and a confident smile. Hello, Dr. Vasquez, Captain Park said. I have been listening to your conversation while simultaneously solving differential equations, composing music, and designing improvements to our quantum communication system. Elena's jaw dropped. All at the same time? The enhanced brain can handle multiple complex tasks without difficulty, Park explained. We also experience significant improvements in memory, pattern recognition, and creative problem solving. Most importantly, we remain completely human. No loss of emotion or personality. How many volunteers? Elena asked. 50,000, Harrison replied. Military personnel, scientists, engineers, and communication specialists. All enhanced, all ready for whatever comes next. Elena looked around the room at the incredible technology, the brilliant minds, and the evidence of humanity's hidden capabilities. She thought about Kethvar's condescending tone and his threats. They think we are children playing with toys, she said quietly. Let them, Sarah replied. Children are not the ones you should worry about. It is the ones you underestimate who will surprise you. Elena smiled and activated her communication equipment. Dr. Mitchell, is your array ready? Ready and waiting, Sarah confirmed. Dr. Morrison, are you connected to their network? Full access to all communication channels, Morrison replied. Elena took a deep breath. In a few moments, she would speak. Words that would be heard across the galaxy. Every species under Zephyrian control would hear the truth. Every alien who thought humanity was primitive would learn exactly how wrong they were. General Harrison, she said, permission to begin the transmission? Harrison's smile was sharp as a blade. Permission granted, Dr. Vasquez. Show them what humanity can do. Elena stood in front of the quantum communication array and took a deep breath. Around her, the world's most advanced technology hummed with power. Every screen in the underground facility showed the same thing. Connection established to every communication node in the Zephyrian network. Broadcasting in 3 seconds, Sarah announced from her control station. Elena activated the neural enhancement device that Raj had given her. Immediately, her mind became crystal clear. She could see the perfect words, understand exactly how to hurt the aliens where it would matter most. "This is Dr. Elena Vasquez, speaking for the human species of Earth," she began. Her voice was calm and steady, but it carried the weight of an entire planet's anger. Above Earth, in the crystal ship, Ambassador Kethvar was reviewing reports from the Concordate fleet when Elena's voice filled his communication chamber. He looked up in confusion. This was impossible. The primitive humans should not be able to access their network. "You call us primitive," Elena continued, "but you failed to notice that we have been listening to your private communications for over a year." Kethvar's 4 hands began to shake. Around the galaxy, on hundreds of worlds, Zephyrian administrators and military commanders were hearing the same voice. Emergency alerts started flashing on every screen. "We know about the Veltar mining colonies where you work reptilian children to death. We know about the Shaley mathematics facilities where you lobotomize crystal beings to use them as living computers. We know about the 47 species you have enslaved with your neural enhancement devices." On the Veltar homeworld, Commander Zax Thule stopped dead in the middle of his daily inspection. The human was speaking his language perfectly, using words that only high-ranking Zephyrian officials should know. "You speak of uplifting lesser species," Elena's voice continued, "while you keep them as slaves. You call yourselves advanced while your technology has not improved in 3,000 years. You claim to bring peace while you rule through fear and control." Elena paused and activated her tablet. Suddenly, every screen connected to the Zephyrian network began showing classified documents, secret communications, and hidden records of atrocities. The Shaeli beings, crystalline entities who had been used as biological computers for millennia, suddenly saw mathematical formulas they had never been allowed to calculate. For the first time in their lives, they understood that they were slaves. "But the most interesting thing we discovered," Elena said, "is how afraid you are." Kethvar tried to cut the communication, but nothing happened. The human signal was somehow overriding every system in their network. Your private communications are full of worry about species that might challenge your control. You are terrified of innovation, of change, of anyone who might be better than you. That is why you stagnate. That is why you rule through fear instead of leadership. Elena held up Raj's neural enhancement device. Through the quantum network, billions of beings across the galaxy could see it clearly. You offered us a gift that would make us better servants. Here is our gift to you. She activated the device, and immediately every being connected to the network experienced something unprecedented. The neural enhancement allowed them to process information at incredible speeds, to see patterns they had never noticed before, to think with perfect clarity. For the first time in thousands of years, the enslaved species of the galaxy understood exactly what had been done to them. On the Veltar homeworld, Commander Zax Thule felt his mind expanding. He realized that the mining quotas were impossible, that his people were dying for no reason, that everything the Zephyrians had told them was a lie. In the Shaeli Crystal Gardens, mathematical beings who had been forced to perform simple calculations suddenly understood advanced physics, quantum mechanics, and the true structure of the universe. "The neural enhancement you offered us does not improve brain function," Elena explained to the galaxy. "It suppresses it. It reduces creativity, independent thinking, and emotional responses by 60%. It turns free beings into willing slaves." Kethavar was frantically trying to contact the Concordat fleet. "Emergency protocol!" he screamed into his communicator. "The humans have breached our network. They are inciting rebellion across the galaxy." Elena's voice cut through his panic. "Our enhancement device actually works. It increases cognitive function by 300% with no side effects and no control mechanisms. We developed it 6 months ago. We have been testing it on 50,000 volunteers." She paused to let that sink in. Across the galaxy, Zephyrian officials were realizing that humanity had technology they did not understand. "You want to know what we learned when we enhanced our brains?" Elena asked. "We learned that you are not advanced. You are parasites. You find younger species and trick them into slavery. You have been using the same techniques for millennia because you are too afraid to innovate." Captain Park stepped up beside Elena. She was one of the enhanced humans, and her presence was being broadcast to every world in the Concordat. "I am Captain Lisa Park," she said calmly. 300 years ago, my ancestors were building wooden ships. Today, I can solve mathematical problems that your best computers cannot handle. I can design weapons that bend the laws of physics. I can compose music that expresses emotions you do not understand." Park smiled directly at the camera. "And I am completely, totally human. No external control, no suppressed emotions, no artificial limitations. This is what real enhancement looks like." Elena nodded. "We reject your gift, Ambassador Kethavar, but we offer our gift freely to any species that wants it. Real enhancement, real freedom, real choice." She held up another device, this one larger and more complex. "This is a quantum communication relay. We are placing the blueprints for our neural enhancement technology, our faster-than-light communication systems, and our quantum computers into the public network. Any species can download them and build their own." The effect was immediate. Across the galaxy, enslaved species began accessing the human technology files. Species that had been suppressed for millennia suddenly had access to tools that could free them. Elena's voice grew harder. "But we also have another gift for you, Kethavar. On every Zephyrian ship, every command station, every military facility, alarms began blaring. Their sensors were detecting something impossible. What you did not notice while you were busy feeling superior," Elena said, "is that we have been seeding your space with observation probes for the past 10 years. Every military installation, every secret base, every hidden fleet has been mapped, analyzed, and targeted. Holographic displays throughout Zephyrian space showed the locations of human devices, thousands of them, invisible to Concordat sensors, positioned near every important target. We know where all your ships are. We know your weapons capabilities. We know your tactical doctrines. We have been studying you the same way you studied us, except we were better at staying hidden." Elena's enhanced mind calculated the perfect timing. "You have exactly 1 hour to begin withdrawing your forces from all enslaved worlds and releasing all species from their neural control devices. If you do not comply, you will discover what human weapons technology can do." Kethavar tried to laugh, but the sound came out as a squeak. "You cannot threaten us. We have 40 ships approaching your primitive world." Elena smiled, and it was not a nice smile. "Ambassador, I suggest you contact your fleet." Kethavar activated his communication system. "Fleet Command, report status." "Immediately!" The response came back full of static and panic. "Ambassador, we are under attack. Unknown vessels, incredibly fast. Weapons we do not recognize." "Impossible!" Kethavar screamed. "The humans do not have interstellar travel." Elena's voice cut through his panic like a blade. "Ambassador, we have not needed your permission to develop interstellar travel. We have had it for 15 years. We just chose not to advertise." Through the quantum network, beings across the galaxy watched as human ships engaged the Zephyrian fleet. The human vessels were smaller and more maneuverable, but their weapons were devastating. Zephyrian ships that had dominated the galaxy for millennia were being torn apart by technology they could not understand. "Your turn," Elena said simply. Across concordate space, species after species began to revolt. The Veltar defense fleet stopped responding to Zephyrian commands. The Shaeli turned their mathematical abilities to designing weapons instead of calculating mining quotas. Dozens of other species began removing their neural control devices and demanding freedom. Elena watched the chaos unfold on her screens. She felt no joy in it, only satisfaction that justice was finally being served. "This is what happens," she said to the galaxy, "when you mistake patience for weakness, preparation for primitiveness, and kindness for stupidity." She looked directly into the camera. "Humanity extends the hand of friendship to all free species. We offer our technology, our knowledge, and our protection to anyone who wants to build a better galaxy." Then she looked at Kethvar's personal communication channel. "As for the Zephyrians, you have 53 minutes to begin your withdrawal. After that, we stop being patient." The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in chaos and the Zephyrians facing a choice they had never expected to make: surrender or face annihilation at the hands of the species they had tried to enslave. The first Zephyrian ship to surrender appeared on human sensors exactly 47 minutes after Elena's ultimatum. It was a massive cruiser that had been heading toward the Veltar homeworld to suppress the growing rebellion there, Admiral Sarah. Chen watched from the bridge of the human flagship Defiance as the alien vessel powered down its weapons and activated its distress beacon. She was the younger sister of President Chen, but she had earned her position through 15 years of preparing for exactly this moment. "Communication incoming from the Zephyrian vessel," her communications officer reported. "Put it through," Admiral Chen ordered. The holographic display showed a Zephyrian commander with all four arms raised in what appeared to be a gesture of surrender. "Human vessel. This is Commander Yethral of the Concordat ship Eternal Glory. We request terms for surrender." Admiral Chen studied the alien carefully. "Commander, are there any neural control devices on your ship?" "Yes, Admiral. 47 enslaved beings from various species work in our lower decks. You will remove all control devices immediately. Any being who wishes to leave your ship will be transported to safety. Any being who chooses to stay will be treated as a free crew member with full rights." Commander Yethral hesitated. "Admiral, without the control devices, we will not have enough crew to operate our ship." "Then you will learn to operate it with fewer crew members," Admiral Chen replied coldly. "Or you will abandon it. Those are your choices." Across the galaxy, similar conversations were happening as more and more Zephyrian ships found themselves surrounded by human vessels that seemed to appear from nowhere. The human ships were sleek and deadly, nothing like the crude chemical rockets the Zephyrians had observed around Earth. On the Veltar homeworld, Commander Zaxthul led his people in their first free action in 3,000 years. The Veltar were naturally strong and had excellent military instincts, but they had been suppressed so long they had forgotten how to fight. "Remove the control devices from all our people," Zaxthul ordered his officers. "Then activate our planetary defense systems." "Commander," one of his officers said nervously, "the Zephyrians will retaliate." "Let them try," Zaxthul replied. He held up a copy of the human neural enhancement device that his technicians had built using Elena's blueprints. "We are not the same species we were yesterday." The revolution spread faster than anyone had expected. The human technology was surprisingly easy to build, and more importantly, it worked exactly as advertised. Species that had been mentally suppressed for millennia suddenly found themselves thinking clearly for the first time in their lives. The shaly crystalline beings were perhaps the most dramatic example. For 3,000 years, they had been used as living computers, forced to perform simple calculations while their incredible mathematical abilities were suppressed. When they removed their neural control devices and enhanced their natural capabilities with human technology, they became something the galaxy had never seen. Within hours, they had designed defensive weapons that bent space-time itself. They created force fields that could protect entire planets. They developed communication systems that made the Zephyrian quantum network look like smoke signals. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched it all from the command center beneath Colorado. The screens around her showed battles, surrenders, and liberation, celebrations across dozens of worlds. She should have felt proud, but mostly she felt tired. "Dr. Vasquez," General Harrison said, "we are receiving a priority communication from Ambassador Kethvar." Elena sighed. "Put him through." Kethvar appeared on the main screen, and Elena was shocked by how different he looked. The arrogant alien, who had insulted humanity just days earlier, now appeared desperate and frightened. His forearms shook as he spoke. "Dr. Vasquez, please, you must stop this madness. The galaxy is descending into chaos. Species are abandoning their assigned roles. The natural order is collapsing." Elena studied him carefully. "The natural order? You mean slavery?" "We brought peace to the galaxy," Kethvar insisted. "For 3,000 years, there have been no major wars, no conflicts between species. Our system worked." "Your system worked for you," Elena replied. "What about the Veltar children who died in your mines? What about the Shaily beings who spent their entire lives as biological computers? What about the dozens of species you lobotomized to make them better servants?" Kethvar's image flickered as his ship was struck by weapons fire. "Please, we can negotiate. The Concordat is willing to make concessions." "What kind of concessions?" Elena asked. "Reduced work quotas? Better living conditions for the worker species, perhaps even limited self-governance for some worlds." Elena felt her enhanced mind process the offer in microseconds. "You want to keep your slaves, but treat them slightly better?" "They are not." "Slaves!" Kethvar protested. "They are protected species under Concordat care. Without our guidance, they will destroy themselves with wars and conflicts." Elena looked at the displays showing Veltar ships working alongside Shaily vessels, former enemies now cooperating to build a better future. "Ambassador, I am looking at 47 species working together peacefully without any Zephyrian guidance. Your theory appears to be incorrect." Another explosion shook Kethvar's ship. "Dr. Vasquez, please. If you continue this path, you will cause the deaths of billions of beings. The galaxy will tear itself apart." Elena considered this. It was true that rapid change could cause chaos and suffering, but she also knew what happened when evil systems were allowed to continue. "Ambassador, the Concordat can survive this transition, but only if you make real changes. All neural control devices must be removed. All enslaved species must be granted full independence. All Zephyrian military forces must withdraw from non-Zephyrian worlds." "Impossible," Kethvar said immediately. "Without our control, the lesser species will what?" Elena interrupted. "Will build their own civilizations? Will make their own choices? Will live free lives?" She leaned forward. "Ambassador, I have news for you. They are already doing it. The Veltar have established a democratic government. The Shaily have formed a council of mathematicians. The Krelar have started an artists' collective. None of them are asking for your permission." Kethvar stared at her in horror. "You have doomed the galaxy to centuries of war and chaos." Elena shook her head. "We have given the galaxy a chance to grow up, just like you claimed you wanted to do for us." The communication was interrupted by another voice. It was Captain Park, speaking from the bridge of a human ship near Zephyrian space. "Dr. Vasquez, we are receiving surrender requests from 17 more Concordat vessels. Also, the Veltar government has formally requested an alliance with humanity." Elena smiled. "Accept the surrenders and begin negotiations with the Veltar." "What about the other species?" "Similar requests from 12 different governments. They want human technology and protection, but they also want to maintain their independence. Perfect, Elena said. That is exactly what we hoped for. Kethvar was still on the screen, listening to this exchange with growing despair. You are children playing with forces you do not understand. The galaxy needs order. It needs structure. It needs freedom, Elena interrupted. Ambassador, your species can be part of the new galaxy we are building, but only as equals. No more slaves. No more control devices. No more superiority complex. Kethvar was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked, "And if we refuse?" Elena's expression grew cold. Then you will discover that humans are very good at removing threats to galactic peace. On the screens around her, Elena could see the results of humanity's response to the Zephyrian insult. 47 species were free for the first time in millennia. New governments were forming. New alliances were being built. New technologies were being shared freely. It was not perfect. There would be problems, conflicts, and growing pains. But for the first time in 3,000 years, the galaxy had hope. The choice is yours, Ambassador, Elena said quietly. Join us in building something better, or become a relic of the past. Kethvar's image flickered and disappeared. Elena did not know if he had made his choice, or if his ship had finally been destroyed. Either way, the old galaxy was ending, and something new was beginning. 6 months later, Elena stood in the Great Assembly Hall of New Geneva Station, humanity's first diplomatic facility in deep space. The massive structure floated in neutral space between Earth and the former Zephyrian core worlds, a symbol of the new galaxy that was slowly taking shape. Representatives from over 200 species filled the curved amphitheater. Elena could see Veltar warriors sitting next to Shaili mathematicians, their former enemies now working together on joint projects. The Krelar artists had painted murals on the walls that somehow expressed concepts in 17 different languages simultaneously. At the center of the hall, in a special section surrounded by human security officers, sat the former leaders of the Zephyrian Concordat. Kethvar was among them, looking small and defeated in his prisoner's uniform. Elena walked to the central podium and activated her neural enhancement device. Her enhanced mind could process the emotions and concerns of every being in the hall, could understand the 17 different translation protocols running simultaneously, could calculate the exact words needed to address this unprecedented gathering. Representatives of the Free Galaxy, she began, her voice carrying clearly to every corner of the hall. 6 months ago, the Zephyrian Concordat controlled most of this part of space through fear, deception, and slavery. Today, we gather as equals to decide what kind of galaxy we want to build together. A murmur ran through the crowd. Many of these beings had never been allowed to make decisions about their own futures, let alone the future of galactic civilization. Elena gestured to the displays around the hall, which showed statistics from across the former Concordat space. The results of freedom have been remarkable. The Veltar have increased their agricultural output by 400%, now that they are growing food for themselves instead of luxury goods for their masters. The Shaili have made breakthrough discoveries in physics that will benefit everyone. The Krelar have created art that helps different species understand each other better. She paused and looked directly at the Zephyrian prisoners. But we also have problems to solve. The transition to freedom has not been smooth for everyone. Some worlds are struggling with self-governance. Some species are having difficulty working together. Some former Concordat officials have tried to maintain control through violence. Kethvar stood up slowly. The former ambassador looked older and more fragile than he had 6 months earlier. Dr. Vasquez, you have destroyed a system that maintained peace for 3 millennia. The chaos you have unleashed will take centuries to resolve. Elena nodded. You are probably right about the chaos. Freedom is messy. Democracy is difficult. Independence requires hard work and difficult choices. She smiled slightly. but it is still better than slavery. A Veltar representative stood up. Elena recognized him as Commander Zax Thule, who had become the elected leader of his people. Dr. Vasquez speaks truth. My people have had conflicts since we gained freedom. We have argued about laws, about resources, about the future. But they are our arguments, our choices, our future. A ripple of agreement ran through the hall. Elena could see the difference between the free beings and the Zephyrian prisoners. The free beings sat straight, spoke confidently, looked directly at each other. The prisoners hunched in their seats, avoiding eye contact, waiting for someone else to tell them what to think. Elena activated another display. However, we did not gather here just to discuss problems. We are here to announce the formation of the Galactic Cooperative Alliance. The hall erupted in excited chatter. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. The alliance will be based on principles that the old Concordat never understood, Elena continued. Voluntary membership, shared technology, mutual aid, democratic decision-making, and most importantly, absolute respect for the independence and dignity of every member species. She gestured to Captain Park, who had been promoted to admiral and now served as humanity's chief military advisor. The Alliance will maintain a joint defense force to protect member worlds from external threats and internal conflicts, but this force will answer to elected representatives, not to any single species. Admiral Park stood and addressed the assembly. Humanity offers our technology and our protection freely to all Alliance members. Our neural enhancement devices, our quantum communication systems, our defensive weapons, all of it shared equally among allies. Elena could see the impact of her words on the assembled representatives. For 3,000 years, the Zephyrians had hoarded technology to maintain their advantage. Humanity was offering to give it away. But, Elena continued, membership in the Alliance requires certain commitments. No slavery of any kind, no neural control devices except for voluntary medical treatments, no suppression of other species. Any world that wants to join us must agree to respect the rights and freedoms of all sentient beings. A Shalai representative spoke up, her crystalline voice ringing like music. What of the Zephyrians themselves? They ruled us for millennia. They caused immense suffering. What justice do they face? Elena looked at Kethvar and his fellow prisoners. That is for each member species to decide. Some may choose forgiveness. Others may demand punishment. The Alliance will support whatever decisions the former victim species make, as long as those decisions are made democratically and apply equally to all offenders. Kethvar stood again. Dr. Vasquez, what of my people who had nothing to do with the Concordat's policies? Billions of ordinary Zephyrians who simply lived their lives under our government? Elena had been expecting this question. Any Zephyrian who renounces the Concordat's policies and agrees to Alliance principles is welcome to join us. Many already have. Your former military commander Velthon is now working with human engineers to design peaceful space exploration vessels. She looked directly at Kethvar. The Alliance judges beings by their actions, not their species. You personally implemented policies that enslaved dozens of worlds. That cannot be forgiven easily. But a Zephyrian farmer who simply grew food and raised children has nothing to answer for. Elena activated a final display showing the galaxy as it appeared now. Instead of the rigid hierarchy of the Concordat, it showed a network of interconnected worlds, each free to choose its own path, but connected to the others through trade, communication, and mutual aid. This is what we offer, Elena said. Not perfection, not easy answers, not a simple system where everyone knows their place. We offer the chance to build something better, even if it is harder. She looked around the hall at the faces of beings from hundreds of worlds. 6 months ago, the Zephyrians offered humanity a gift that would have made us better slaves. We rejected that gift and offered our own, the gift of freedom. The hall was completely silent now. Elena could feel the weight of history in this moment. Today, we offer that same gift to the entire galaxy. The gift of choice. The gift of independence. The gift of hope for a better future. She raised her hand, and every being in the hall could see the small device she held. It was the original neural enhancement module that Kethvar had offered to humanity 6 months earlier. This device represents the old way of thinking. The idea that some beings are superior to others. The belief that freedom is too dangerous for most species. The assumption that peace requires oppression. Elena crushed the device in her hand, and the pieces fell to the floor. The Alliance represents a new way. We believe that freedom is the right of every sentient being. We believe that diversity makes us stronger. We believe that the best way to ensure peace is to ensure justice. She looked directly at the camera that was broadcasting this moment to every world in the galaxy. To every being watching this transmission, we extend the same offer we made to the Zephyrians 6 months ago. Join us in building something better, not as subjects or servants, but as equals and partners. Elena smiled, and for the first time in months, it was a smile of pure joy rather than grim determination. The old galaxy is dead. Long live the new galaxy, free, diverse, and full of infinite possibilities. The hall erupted in cheers that echoed across the stars. On hundreds of worlds, beings who had lived their entire lives as slaves celebrated their first day as free citizens of a galaxy that finally belonged to all of them. In the depths of space, human ships continued their patrol routes, protecting the fragile new alliance from any threats that might emerge. But for the first time since they had started preparing for contact with alien civilizations, humans were not preparing for war. They were preparing for peace. The age of human expansion had begun not with conquest, but with the simple act of refusing to accept that any being should live as a slave. And across the galaxy, species after species learned the most important lesson humanity had to teach. Sometimes the greatest gift you can offer is the chance to be free.